The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut, offering first-timer lesson packages for beginner skiers and snowboarders. Online registration available at skisundown.com. Winter made better. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by UMass Amherst School of Public Policy. Admissions now open for graduate programs in 2025. Learn how to become a changemaker at umass.edu/SPP.
Anywhere at betterhelp.com/public.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, dancing on a global scale as we talk with DJ Theory and Ido Moore of Secret Planet about the new series More Love coming to De La Luz on Saturday night, and more things the Music CSA has in store in the next few months for folks with ears for global sounds.
But first, the hits don't stop coming where Capitol Hill is concerned, and it turns out that many folks out there have a lot of questions about what's happening and their potential roles in the outcomes. Luckily, there's someone we can ask who's got a bit of insider knowledge.
Who doggy? Or I guess Doji, I should say, maybe. Doge.
Yeah.
It's been said a million different ways. Heather Cox Richardson always calls it Dogie, and I'm like, I think it's Doge. But anyway.
It is, yeah.
Time for our weekly check-in with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Congressman Jim McGovern, in a segment we like to call McGoverning with McGovern. And Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, which I have read is not actually officially a department, at least not yet. Nevertheless, is the topic of most of the conversation I think we're going to have today, Congressman. For those who have not been following, perhaps, Elon Musk, billionaire tech mogul, is the head of this department, Doge, and NPR saying that this week they've gained access to sensitive government payment system in the Treasury Department. They've effectively shut down the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, which provides humanitarian assistance across the globe and more, and is pushing to drastically reduce the number of federal employees, with today being the deadline for the so-called fork in the road federal employee buyout offer, where federal employees can voluntarily resign but be paid through September. I saw that Senator Lisa Murkowski said on Facebook that the U.S. Senate phone system has been overwhelmed with about 1,600 calls a minute, in contrast to the 40 calls a minute it usually receives. And we here at the show have also been bombarded with listener questions this week, almost all of which have to do with Doge. So, Congressman, if you'll indulge me, I thought I would synthesize almost all of their questions, but still give a shout out to all the people that participated. Will that work for you? And then we'll take it from there?
Absolutely.
All right. So Cindy Ryman from Pelham says Elon Musk is a civilian engaged in illegal activities by procuring information that is not considered public information. Why has he not been removed and arrested for his illegal activities along with his muskrats? I got to give Cindy some credit for that. Play on words. Similarly, Kevin in Greenfield says, can any of these abject morons, his word, trying to take over the government be arrested for anything? It's unbelievable that it's going on. Another email. Hi, Representative McGovern. This is Aaron from the Sullivan family in Worcester. I bet there's 1,000 Sullivan families in Worcester, if not more. But anyway, I would like to hear the specific steps Democrats are going to take to undo what Elon Musk has already done with his crew at the USAID and to hold him accountable. I appreciate the great live press coverage, but I want to know what the next steps are. Thanks. And thank you for having Representative McGovern on. The events of this past week are terrifying. Musk and Trump have illegally taken over the Treasury, USAID, and more. Please take action. We see what is happening, but need more than words. This is a coup. Trump and Musk are doing illegal things. It must be stopped. I did the 2-month Holocaust unit in 8th grade, facing history and ourselves. This is real. This is what we were taught to resist. Lead us. Tell us what we need to do. Thank you for all you do, writes Tina. So all of those questions all leading to the same thing. Musk, Doge, the Treasury, USAID. Your thoughts, Congressman McGovern?
Well, that's a lot. And I share the concern and the outrage and the worry over, like everybody else who asked those questions. And we're trying to figure out how best to fight back. One of the things I remind people all the time is, I've done this since I first got elected, is that elections do matter. And when you elect somebody like Donald Trump, and when you elect a Republican Senate, and when you elect a Republican House, there's consequences and there's an impact. And that's what we're seeing happen right now. One of the things that should be happening right now in Congress is that we ought to be doing oversight hearings on all of this stuff. We ought to be calling administration officials before the House and the Senate. Elon Musk ought to be called before the House and the Senate, and they ought to explain exactly what they're doing and what authority they believe they have to do this, because we do not believe they have the authority. The president or Musk that do not have the authority to dissolve a federal agency like USAID or the Department of Education that was created by an act of Congress. We have a constitution. We have a separation of powers. Each branch has responsibilities. And the executive branch does not have the legal authority to go in and to unilaterally dissolve agencies because they don't like them for whatever reason. If they don't, the way you do that is that Musk and Trump come to Congress and say, I want you to eliminate USAID or eliminate the Department of Education or eliminate whatever. I want you to cut the budget so that because I don't believe they have the legal authority to do this freeze that they're trying to do. Their job is to spend the money that is appropriated. They can't reverse Congress's actions. So there are legal challenges that are going to be made that are currently in process. Some of them have been filed. We begin to see some of the judges some of the federal judges are issuing rulings, and we're going to have to continue to do that. You mentioned all the calls coming into the Senate. Similar amount of calls are coming into the House. That is a good thing. I would just respectfully say that I hope some of those calls are going to Republican members, because all we need in the House is like three people, 3 Republicans to side with us on some of these things. Just 3, and there ought to be some focus on that, because that's how we stop things. I need to be able, if I'm going to bring a bill to the floor to try to reverse any of this stuff, I need to have a majority. I can't change policy without a majority. I get the Democrats. I need 3 Republicans. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the focus needs to be on that. People who have families in other states, who have Republican members, ought to be calling them in the House and in the Senate, because we're going to need them. We're going to need them to stop a bill that contains massive cuts to our nutrition programs and provides tax cuts to billionaires and big corporations. But we can't stop that without having a handful of Republicans. I'm on the floor constantly, fighting every single day, trying to call these people out on what they're doing. I was at USAID, with some of my colleagues protesting what they're trying to do. I tried to meet with employees at USAID, but apparently they've been all told to stay home. So there was literally nobody in the building but a skeleton crew the day we were there. We're doing the same thing at the Department of Treasury. This invasion of privacy, is, I think, a violation of the law. We're working with our federal, with the unions that represent our federal workforce to file suit against this administration to stop the access to Elon Musk and his minions with private information. I mean, so there's a lot we're trying to do, but understand. I mean, we are at a disadvantage, unfortunately, because we don't control the House, we don't control the Senate, and so we are trying to figure out a strategy again to win 3 Republicans in the House and a handful in the Senate to be able to put the brakes on this. And we're also working with our judicial, with various organizations to file suit.
Now, I mean, I know a lot of lawsuits have been filed, and a lot of them, let's say in federal court in Massachusetts, where there may be a more sympathetic judge, but ultimately these things could be decided by the Supreme Court. So if the judicial system is also largely sympathetic to whatever the Trump administration wants to do, as evidenced by what the Supreme Court decided, basically saying that the president has carte blanche to do whatever they want when they are president of the United States, I think a lot of our listeners are feeling helpless.
But that doesn't mean carte blanche to ignore the Constitution in terms of dissolving agencies when you don't have the authority to do so. And we're seeing federal judges, issuing stays on the freeze, and you're going to see the same thing, I think, on the closing of federal agencies. Yeah, we'll see what happens when we get to the Supreme Court. But the Constitution is incredibly clear on this. This is not a gray area. This is not giving the president kind of immunity from doing things that might be questionable in terms of, some of the stuff that Trump did in the first administration. I mean, this is pretty clear. And, and it is disappointing to us that the Speaker of the House, is not defending this institution at this particular point. If the shoes were on a different foot, they'd be yelling and screaming at Joe Biden or at Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. But I mean, again, we're trying to, what are the tools that are available to us to try to slow this stuff down, to be able to stop this stuff? We could do it in the House or the Senate. If we get the votes, we need to work with our with our friends to file lawsuits to stop this stuff. And I'm open to any ideas that people have, that we should be pursuing. But this idea that somehow all we need to do is snap our fingers and we can stop this in the aftermath of this election. Again, elections have consequences, and one of the realities is that Trump won the last election not because he expanded his base. He won because a big chunk of the population did not show up to vote, and we got to figure out how we deal with that. But the deal is we would be in a different position right now if we had won a couple more House seats.
I think,
or if we didn't lose the Senate.
Yeah, I think that most people sort of intellectually understand those consequences and yet are feeling a sense of helplessness. A couple other listener questions sort of leading into this from Norma Sims Roach in Northampton, wanting to know when Democratic leaders say we need more pushback or more public outcry, what does that mean for an ordinary voter when there's no election to be had right now? What are the best ways to push back? Where do you make that outcry that will be heard by people who they believe need to hear it? And she also wants to know, should they be continuing to write to you even about matters that aren't before Congress? And what are the best means of communication to use to be heard in a year that is not a consequential election year on the federal level?
Well, let me tell you, even though the next election is not until for 2 years, I can tell you that there are people here that are very worried and cognizant of the next election. People want to know why moderate Republicans are not dissenting at all. The reason why is because they did a issues retreat at the Trump Doral in Miami, and Donald Trump basically said to all of them, I need you to be with me 110% of the time. I can't have you deviate from what I want you to do even once, because if you do, we will find a primary opponent for you, and the richest man in the world will help fund that primary opponent. So Republicans are really worried about that. And I think the way you counter that is that some of these calls coming in have to go to these Republicans to let them know that their constituents and the people all across this country are not happy, are not pleased. So, yeah, even though the election is 2 years away, in many respects, it has already begun. And so the calls make a difference. Please keep writing to me. Look, I'm open. I want to hear. I'm moving in a million different directions here. I'm showing up at rallies. We're fighting on the floor. We're trying to think of procedural things we can do on the floor to kind of slow things down, to stop things. We're trying to find ways to work with groups to file lawsuits. I mean, if there are other things that people think we should be doing, I'm open to listening and try to figure out whether we can pursue those ideas. People are not helpless. I know people feel that way, but people have some power to push back and to try to at least give a few people pause on the Republican side where they may side with us. And we are, again, I mean, as a Democratic caucus in the House, are trying to figure out what are the tools that are available to us that can actually result in stopping things.
And McGovern's not quite done yet. We'll hear more from him shortly. There were a lot of questions and more still coming in.
Plus, we'll learn how you can dance some of your legislative anxieties at an all-nations welcoming, boundary-busting dance night when we talk about more love with some of the night's organizers.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, offering solar options, energy security, and solutions for the local community. Learn more at northeast-solar.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Window World of Western Mass, a local family business with experienced craftsmen offering wood, vinyl, and composite windows. windowworldofwesternma.com.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, our regular Thursday segment, McGoverning with McGovern. We have been bombarded this week with listener questions and opinions. I'll shout out Annette Fannebecker, who sent a link to an article from the New York Times called "What is State Capture? A Warning for Americans" from yesterday by Tyler McBrien. It does address some of these same issues that we've talking about with Elon Musk and access to the Treasury Department, but it's more of a cautionary tale and a way to stay informed, which perhaps is one way, if you think that things are going poorly, to help push back to know what is actually going on. I also wanted to share an email from Manju from Longmeadow with you, Congressman, who wanted to talk about his experience with USAID. He first thanks you on behalf of constituents calling in for action in some of the particular unconstitutional actions being taken by the new administration. In particular, Manju says, "I heard your joint press briefing on USAID. I've worked in the HIV field for over 20 years, and PEPFAR, the President Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, and USAID have done life-saving work for millions. This week, I listened helplessly as partner organization after partner organization in several African countries talk about what the freeze on funding and activity have done. Denying malaria drugs to children in hospitals, lack of access to HIV drugs that keep people alive, a complete stop of community outreach to most marginalized people, a hold on clinical trials where participants are on experimental drugs now and where thousands and thousands have lost their jobs overnight. The freeze orders have had some reprieve, but without clear guidance and without personnel and health care workers who've lost their jobs, there's no way to actually restart these programs." Manju says that this is unethical and cruel and not the America that he chose to become a citizen of. He, again, wants to know what ordinary people can do and encourages you to keep fighting. On the other end of things, and I know you were outside USAID in what was amount to a press conference protest with folks like Representative Ilhan Omar, who shared a very personal story about relying on USAID. There are the ultra-liberals, the Vijay Prasads, the Marxist thinker formerly from Northampton of the world, who think USAID should be gotten rid of, that it is a tool of imperialism. Can you tell us why you think USAID is so important, and is there merit to say that it has been used as a tool of U.S. imperialism over the course of its history?
I don't view it that way at all. I think USAID is an incredible organization. Is it perfect? No, there's no organization that's perfect. There's no human being that's perfect on this planet. But USAID, I mean, you just mentioned PEPFAR. I mean, to combat HIV/AIDS, people were dying in huge numbers, especially in Africa, from HIV/AIDS. And basically, that's no longer the reality. That's no longer the reality. Like, I think it's like 25 million lives have been saved, it's been estimated, as a result of USAID's intervention with PEPFAR. I mean, that's a good thing. And by the way, I was on a talk show that has a very different political bent.
I don't have a political bent, Congressman.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the callers do. But basically saying that, USAID is like the sugar daddy of the world, as if somehow like we're just, wasting money. No, we're saving lives. That's a worthwhile, that's an important investment. And by the way, and in the case of HIV/AIDS and so many other combating malaria, so many other different things that we're doing, if we are not helping shore up prevention of disease in certain parts of the world, you know what? Then pandemics happen, and you know what? And then it impacts us directly. So the money we invest to actually help save people's lives, to help prevent people from getting sick, actually has an impact on all of us here. And not to mention the feeding programs. With all due respect to the person who's a critic of USAID, I actually think it is a worthwhile investment for the United States. I wish more countries would do more as well to end hunger around the world. I mean, we've got countless millions and millions and millions of people starving to death still. And as a result of the disruption in funding for USAID, I mean, there are people in places like Sudan who are not getting food right now. Babies who are dying, and to the extent that people don't think that that's worth the investment of the United States, I'm sorry about that, but I do think it's a worthwhile investment, and it also has a positive impact on the United States. I want people around the world to think of us as a force for good. I mean, God knows we send enough weapons around the world. I mean, helping to feed people, helping to combat disease, I think is an important kind of thing that I want to have identified with the United States, because people will like us, and I want people to like us. And when people like you, they don't want to blow you up. This is a better way to combat extremism than all the bombs and weapons that we're sending to countries all around the world. I mean, this actually is soft power, is good power, and it's not about expanding our footprint around the world in terms of the land we occupy. It's about being good global citizens. I think more countries around the world need to be better global citizens. We need to be better. And look, it's that, or what we heard from Donald Trump yesterday, that he wants to, turn Gaza into a Middle East Riviera, to put a Middle East Mar-a-Lago in Gaza or something. I don't know what the hell he wants to do.
Gaza-Lago. I'm going to shout out my friend's dad who started calling it Gaza-Lago already.
But to those who voted for Trump, and I've said this repeatedly in the last couple of days, to those who voted for Trump, did you really vote, to send your sons and daughters to be deployed in tunnels in Gaza? Is that what you voted for? Did you vote to have them invade Greenland, to occupy Panama, to annex Canada? I mean, this guy's a warmonger. So he sees America's power in terms of how much land he can take away from others, how much he can occupy, how many bombs and missiles he can build and deploy around the world. But yet the target that they have right now is USAID, which really at its best is about feeding hungry people and helping combat disease. But the final thing I'm going to say is, if you don't like USAID, whether you're Donald Trump or the gentleman that you mentioned who wants to eliminate USAID, if you don't like it, the way you do it, if you're going to abide by the Constitution, is you go to Congress and you say, vote to eliminate it. Mm-hmm. Trump does not have the legal authority to do what he's doing. And again, we are working with organizations. We are, to file suit to try to stop this in its tracks. And I'm, again, there are things that can be improved in USAID, but, if we did not have USAID, the world would be a hell of a lot worse off today.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, our regular weekly segment, McGoverning with McGovern. You did mention the notion of taking over Gaza, which I think many people think is actually a distraction from all of the other stuff that DOJ is doing underway. Worth noting, at least, though, that the Democratic representative from Texas, Al Green, who launched many long-shot impeachment bids during Trump's first term, has already tried to introduce impeachment about this particular issue. I think we've talked enough about the notion of taking over Gaza and the long shot possibility that would ever happen. Nevertheless, it has sent chills through Palestinian Americans' spines as well as the global community. And this type of distraction may make it more easy to do the actual work of these hundreds and hundreds of executive orders that no one really can pay attention to, each and every individual one, which leads to one of my
questions. If I could just say one thing,
yes,
though,
please.
On the Gaza stuff, I mean, what he's talking about is ethnic cleansing. Mm-hmm. Right, this is what the Chinese are doing to the Tibetans, all right, in Tibet. He wants basically to send Palestinians to Saudi Arabia, to Jordan, to any other country that will take them. Basically, spread them out all over the world. That's what China's doing with Tibet, with Tibetans in Tibet. Basically, making it more difficult, for them to keep their language, their culture, their history, and their identity. It is ethnic cleansing. But and whether he moves forward on this or not, in the short term, the danger of what he said is it, again, fans the fuels of extremism in the Middle East and may actually disrupt this very fragile and imperfect ceasefire that is currently in place, where there are prisoner exchanges and hostage releases going on. And words like this have meaning and have implication and could actually send us back spiraling in the wrong direction. So, yeah, it may be a distraction, and, we'll see what he does. But that distraction in and of itself could cause a lot of damage at this very moment in a very sensitive part of the world.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, there was a big piece in the New York Times Magazine a couple weeks ago about a man named Curtis Yarvin, who is a blogger and a philosopher and is essentially an anti-egalitarian, anti-democratic advocate for what amounts to a monarchy, which is sometimes a movement known as the Dark Enlightenment or the neo-reactionary movement. And he's been influential on folks like the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. What they are essentially, potentially, advocating for is giving absolute sovereignty to a single organization. This would be the executive branch and most likely the president, who would run the country more like a corporation with the power that a CEO has to run the government without any interference from Congress or the courts. I think many people are worried that we may be leading to something like this. What worries me is that the government is funded through the middle of March. What is the possibility that DOJ gets everything it wants with USAID and with all of the other branches of things, the federal funding freeze, that everything would be shut down because Congress is instructed to pass no continuing resolution? Is that something that is within a month's possibility?
It is, but I think, if you fund nothing,
So you're on in about 5
that
minutes.
means everything gets cut. Just essential basic services get cut. I don't think that politically the Republicans would be able to withstand the outcry of just basically ceasing all government operations. Everybody would be adversely impacted, including not just the most vulnerable, but including the very, very rich in this country. So I'm not sure how likely that is, but you could end up with a continuing resolution that actually cuts a lot of this stuff, depending on whether or not they have the majority of votes to do so. That's why I go back to what I said. People want to know what to do. You know what? Yeah, call Democratic representatives, but make sure that there's some outreach and some thought given to how we can persuade some Republicans to vote against extreme measures. All we need is three. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be part of the equation. The one thing I'm going to tell you that keeps me up at night is that what happens if there's a court order that directs this president to stop certain behavior? Let's say it's even upheld by the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
What if he doesn't follow it? And what is the enforcement mechanism that would make him follow it? I say that because I don't think that the Speaker of the House nor the Senate President, I think they are so frightened of Donald Trump that they would not take the necessary actions here in the legislative branch of government to actually hold this man accountable. And that's a scary thought. I hope we never get there, but that's something, if you want to know what keeps me up at night, is what happens if he ignores the Congress, if he ignores the courts. How do you enforce some of this stuff? I'm glad Richard Nixon didn't think like that, but Donald Trump, who I know, was a fan of Richard Nixon, actually hired Ray Cohn, who worked with Richard Nixon on the McCarthy hearings. I know they think in that way, but look, we don't know what's going to happen. We have to be prepared for all contingencies. But in the meantime, I think it's important for us to figure out how we raise awareness, because there's a lot about issues. There's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of misinformation about USAID that's being spun by Elon Musk and others. Just lies, and some people are taking it hook, line, and sinker. I think it's important for people at the local level to help set the record straight. And I hope people will continue to do that. It's important for people to call their representatives, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. And, it's important also for us to, in the light of all this chaos, to focus on doing good in our community. We have to figure out ways to combat these people, but also to do good in our communities. And that's how we're going to have to keep score here.
Well, to that end,
it's not only fighting back, it's doing good stuff.
To that end, the final question that we'll continue to ask you week in and week out as we go through this, what is one specific thing that is giving you hope this week, Congressman McGovern? I just met with a group of business people before I got on the call with you, from all around the country. These are people who, many of them who I know voted for Donald Trump, but who spoke to a bipartisan group of Congress people and senators and basically
said something that I wish they would have said before the election, and that is we are deeply troubled by the direction that this country is now moving in. We're deeply troubled by the erratic behavior of this administration. We're concerned about the tariffs. We're concerned about that this will result in an increase in cost of living, and we want to figure out how we can help push back. We're going to have to put together some unusual coalitions if we're going to be effective in pushing back against some of these more egregious policies. And the fact that people who I think have traditionally not been very sympathetic to a lot of things I care about or the people that I support now understand that, maybe this is a time that we're going to have to form coalitions, and we're going to have to stand united and push back against the excessive and chaotic and erratic behavior of this guy who, again, we're only, what is this, third week? I mean, I feel like I've been doing this for 30 years with them. It's like, but so that does give me hope. But again, to keep our sanity locally, we have to figure out how to do things in our community to improve people's lives. I mean, we just do. And it could be anything from volunteering at a food pantry to, helping volunteer in a classroom or helping, or working at a homeless shelter or whatever. We have to focus in on doing good.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts joins us every Thursday. Send your questions like you did en masse this week to thefab413@nepm.org, and I'll do my best to ask them on your behalf. Thanks as always, Congressman.
All the best. Keep the faith.
And now with that, we dance our way through 3-beat dance hall, Amapiano, and more with DJ Theory and Ito Moore of Secret Planet teaming up to bring the More Love Dance Night to Western Mass.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering Co-op Advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
We're living in a world where everything is energy.
Ah, nice. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. Starting this week, Secret Planet teams up with De La Luz Soundstage and Original Ting Music to bring you a borderless club night in Holyoke.
Titled More Love, the evening seeks to bring new folks to new sounds and broaden everyone's ears with DJs near and far, well-versed in the far reaches of dance music and its myriad subgenres.
With us to talk about the ongoing endeavor are DJ Theory of Original Ting Music and Ito Moore of Secret Planet. Thank you both for joining us.
Oh, yeah. Happy to be here.
We got DJ Theory in the studio braving the winter weather out there, and Ito chiming in digitally with us right here. So this is an exciting new thing happening at De La Luz, which many people know formerly as Gateway City Arts. It's right there on Ray Street in Holyoke. And where did this kind of... Well, do you want to lead off there? Yeah. Ito, tell us about the origins of this particular dance night.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the events we've been producing with Secret Planet are dance forward. There's music from all over the world, and most other places in the world, people like to dance a lot, and it's an essential part of the music. And so the audience that we've been building in the Valley for that, it really likes to dance, but there hasn't been, I feel like, a real clubby sort of space that we've found anyway that has been like the perfect fit for us until Gateway City Arts reopened as De La Luz late last year, and they've made some really nice changes. Like for one thing, you can have a fog machine in Holyoke, but you can't have one in Northampton or Amherst.
Whoa!
You need fog to dance, like no one's watching,
it's
right?
non-negotiable.
Yeah,
Exactly,
because if you're surrounded in fog, then no one is watching.
There's some really beautiful dance events that happen where there's no bar, for example, and alcohol actually helps people loosen up and start to move their bodies a bit, which is also important. The lights need to be low. There's a lot of moving lights. It's all the things that I think can make an event like this really work. Can happen at De La Luz. So we're excited to bring some programming there with my friend Jake, amazing DJ who's based in the 413, but he spent a lot of time out in California running a dance series called Tormenta Tropical. So he's been doing this kind of thing for a while. Jake, maybe tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. This is somewhat of an extension of that, in that was my thing in San Francisco, and since I've moved out here, I really have missed that, and I've been looking for a home where I can kind of recreate that energy. And the moment I stepped into De La Luz, and actually the first and only 2 events that I've done there were for Ito and Secret Planet, and they were both just so good that like I felt like something that was happening, right? And so we're kind of building on that with this new project. And Tormento was basically a melting pot of cultures and music and people, and it was just an open door policy of just come as you are. We're just gonna enjoy each other's company and dance. And I haven't really had a space here locally that has allowed me to do that in the way that I want to do it. And kind of like what Ito was saying, this really feels like an actual club. And I just feel like Western Massachusetts has been needing this so much. Like there's, a lot of great bars and little dance parties that happen, and there hasn't really been much of like a club scene. So the fact that De La Luz exists now, and Kyle and the Laudable team, like they really are behind us 100%, and they want to see this become a real like dance party. So it's really exciting to me to have this new home base and to be able to work with Ito and create this whole new vibe that we're trying to build here.
That's wicked exciting. What drew you about this style of music in the beginning? Like, why DJ with this set?
Well, I have a very deep reggae background. I've been playing reggae music for like 20 years. And
your DJ company is Original Ting. Without, right. I'm just saying.
Yep. So deep roots in reggae, which had quickly made its way into dancehall, which then made its way into a lot of other global genres. But I also have roots in electronic music. So the more and more electronic music and Caribbean and African and Latin music started to collide, the more interested I got in just finding ways to bring it all together and share it with people on the dance floor. And so that's literally what we're doing now with this party.
Right on.
That's DJ Theory, who will be DJing at More Love, which will debut this Saturday, February 8th, 8 o'clock at De La Luz in Holyoke. I don't know who's better to ask about this, you, DJ Theory, or Ito Moore from Secret Planet, but I think a lot of the things that you were alluding to about the club scene in Western Mass that are missing is that it lacks a sense of regularity. Mm-hmm. That, like, if I grew up between Boston and Providence, and you could go either to Boston or Providence any night of the week, and there would be a dance club that you could go to, and you knew there'd be a bunch of people there dancing. Is the hope that this would be something that happened weekly, monthly, or that there would be a sense of regularity so that people would know that there's an opportunity to dance and then thus build that up from there?
Yeah, 100%. The goal is to make it a monthly, and Ito has a style of kind of teasing people and like letting people know what's going on, but giving them a feeling of wanting more, right? So I think we're kind of just gonna try a few and see how it goes, but we believe really strongly that it's going to do well. And so come the summertime, the goal is to keep it as a second Saturday. Right now we have this Saturday, which is on the second Saturday of February. Then we have April 12th is the next one, and then we'll move into June from there, and then see where it goes. But the plan is to be second Saturdays every month.
Slowly moving outside and outside.
Yeah, I want to do a block party actually this summer.
Yeah, they used to have block parties at Gateway City Arts, and those were a really fun time to be right down there by the canal in Holyoke.
I'm saying it's calling, so
we're throwing it into the ether, and maybe the fates will make it happen.
I'm throwing it out there. Let's do it.
Word.
We're talking with DJ Theory, who'll be part of this More Love event at De La Luz in Holyoke on Saturday night, and Ito Moore of Secret Planet. Ito, how did you get in touch with DJ Theory? Where did your relationship begin?
I think a mutual friend of ours, Rose Bookbinder, introduced
correct.
us.
Correct.
Rose, like a bunch of years ago.
At Mill Pond Live, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Jake's DJ'd a bunch of events. He's has a very, very like first-class ability to get people dancing and into a zone. So I always love working with him. We did back last November. 15 months ago or so, we did an event where he did an all Amapiano set, which is a style of South African house music. And I don't think I could have tapped any other DJ in the Valley to do something like that. It was heavy.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did it.
It's so heavy that DJ Theory has prepared a musical genre quiz for us that I think we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I think maybe we'll end the show with a musical genre quiz, which, you know, Khalees and I listen to a lot of music, Khalees in particular, but I have a feeling we're going to, at least I am going to fail miserably.
Yeah, I saw the list of genres and I recognized over half of them, but definitely not much more than half of them.
I saw that there was an email with genres, and I was like, I'm not even going to pretend to try, or else I'll try to cheat.
Can we talk about the other DJ that's on the bill for More Love?
Please.
Tell us more about Rio Bamba.
Rio Bamba. So the coolest thing about having her here for this event is that she has roots in Holyoke. Her mom immigrated from Ecuador to Holyoke when she was very young, and she now lives in New York and is based in New York, but she has that connection here. And that just ties together so beautifully with what we're doing. The moment I even gave her the offer for the event, she said, "Oh my God, Holyoke is a dream booking for me."
Oh.
And this is someone who plays all over the world, right?
Because no place like home, right?
I know, and I'm just thankful we have a club to host her at now.
Right.
So she's extremely talented, and she very much specializes in all varieties of Latin dance music, but she definitely, she has a large bag of goods. It's not all she's limited to. So she's played Boiler Room and a lot of really high-profile events and has a lot of clout in the New York area, and it's just going to be such a treat to give the local people her flavor.
Oh, that's wicked exciting.
You, DJ Theory, you grew up in New England?
I did, actually. I grew up in the Valley.
And so what was it that expanded your musical horizons to so many different genres?
Collecting vinyl for many years, and then spending a lot of time in New York and just being a sponge, just like absorbing whatever I could. Anytime I could find a record store or a party that I could attend, I would be there and just try to soak it all up. And then I spent 10 years in the Bay Area and just, again, soaking up the culture and just all the global energy and the people there. There's no shortage of inspiration in cities like San Francisco. So I'm grateful to have spent that time there. And like I said, with Tormenta, I'm just kind of taking some of that energy and bringing it here and trying to, give the Valley something special and different that can shake things up out here.
And space to dance, which we've been sorely lacking.
Yeah, and it's a great space there at De La Luz, and that's what will happen there in Holyoke on Ray Street on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. More Love International with DJ Theory, who joins us and is going to give us a little quiz in a little bit, I think. So let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll hear music from these genres, and we'll try to guess what these genres are.
And maybe hear a little bit more about what Secret Planet is also bringing to us over the course of the rest of the winter and the spring. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We are joined by DJ Theory, who is going to be spinning at the More Love event at De La Luz in Holyoke on Ray Street on Saturday night. More Love. We are also joined by Secret Planet, which is like a musical farm share for global music from its creator, Ito Moore, who is also joining us. Ito, are you taking this musical genre quiz with us, or you already know all these answers and we have to take it without you?
I actually might be just as lost as you are with global club music.
Okay.
Should I take it with you?
Yeah, I think you should. So
I think I should.
My
Okay,
work here is
great.
done.
okay, so do we have multiple choice, or how are you going to frame this, DJ Theory?
Why don't we explain the genres, or just give the list of genres first, and then we
Okay,
can kind of
sure.
let the listeners in and see if anybody out there knows too.
Okay.
Sure.
So do you have the list?
Do I have the list? Good question.
Well, let's play the genre first. Let's play a song, and then maybe you can just pull from a couple of random multiple choices, and we have to decide what it is.
Sure.
So let's play the first clip there, our engineer Bart.
Okay, I feel like this might be three-step.
We didn't even get multiple choice.
Yeah, where's the list? Where's the list?
Yeah, where was the multiple choice?
All I'm looking at the list. I'm cheating. But
There's 7 genres, so it's a little tricky for the multiple choices. Too many options.
I see. All right. So that was three-step. Tell us what three-step is.
Another South African genre that is kind of coming post Amapiano and is a little bit different. It has this sort of, I believe it's called three-step because the kick drum and the drums tend to hit on like a duh, 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 duh,
Okay.
2,
right?
3, 1, 2.
Whereas
one,
Amapiano is generally 4, 4, 4.
Right.
All right. Do you have the genre list
I
over
do.
there? You're not sharing it with everybody, so you're cheating.
Well,
All right,
okay.
well, okay. I'll look over your shoulder.
Here.
Okay.
I'll just make it big and you can check.
Let's
Okay.
read them off. The
Okay.
first one is GQOM. How do you pronounce that one, DJ Theory?
Gom, silent Q.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a gom band on. We had HBUC.
Right.
Who were fantastic live last year. And year before, oh my goodness, the time is crazy. But yeah, like really like almost techno-y sounding.
So good.
Ito, did you know that was three-step just by hearing it?
No idea.
Okay, good. Well, that makes me feel better because you are like kind of my go-to when it comes to genres of this nature.
It's a niche one.
Yeah. So Gom, Afrobeat, Amapiano, baile funk. Is that how I say it right?
Baile.
Dancehall, three-step, which now we can get rid of that one, and reggaeton. Okay.
There's one more actually that I added late.
Okay.
Ooh.
What is it?
Moombaton.
Moombaton. Okay.
Play another clip, Bart.
Todos los días te imagino cómo te debes ver sin ese Valentino, con ese cuerpo asesino divino más que yo esté pensándote para
To
mí.
me, this sounds like reggaeton.
So probably
Yep.
Moombaton.
I agree.
Is it reggaeton?
That's
Yes.
Yes. You know,
You didn't even have to hear the drums come in.
I didn't even have
Good
to
job.
hear the drums. I mean, if I listen to so much Bad Bunny, who is kind of like at the forefront of reggaeton in the world, the global scene right now. So that was my giveaway for that one.
I'm like, we can narrow this down through context clues. It's in Spanish. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Some of these
Not
are easier
probably
than others.
Afrobeats. Could be.
Could be.
Yeah. All right. Let's play another clip, Bart.
They ain't no hot skull, but tell me something. Where you get the new clocks, the daddy?
Dancehall.
Which color that? Body no party. You alone have the style, the daddy. The queen for England, I feel love off yardy.
Khalees nailed that one right out of the gate.
Well,
I think I would have got that one though.
yeah. As soon as you hear like the rim hits, it's like, oh, that's reggae. That's dancehall.
What makes and what else makes dancehall there, DJ Theory?
It's more modern sound than say roots reggae and those kind of drum hits like she was saying with them on those beats.
Yeah.
And generally more sort of electronic elements and just hyper lyrics. It's not as singy. It's more like chanty or rappy, however you.
Sing-songy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna take more of the quiz in a little bit, but I don't want to run out of time before we talk with Ito more about the Almost Spring Weekender, which is coming up in a month, March 7th through 8th. Tell us where and who is going to be at this event, Ito, and why it's something that people might want to get excited about if they like the genres that we're taking the quiz on and more.
Yeah, so I think this time of year I really like to book music that is very dance forward to get people into their bodies more and shaking off the cabin fever that kind of builds up around New England. And politically too, I just feel like when I feel like I don't understand what's going on in the world, I like to go dance. So it all feels like it's perfect timing for the Almost Spring Weekender happening in just under a month. And we're coming back to Racebrook Lodge in Sheffield, which is like 75 minutes west of us if you're in Northampton or Springfield. And it's this beautiful rustic like a bed and breakfast style lodge with a giant funky old barn and a beautiful 250-year-old tavern. And we are going to take over for the whole weekend. There's going to be about 50% DJs and 50% live acts. We're going to have Coco on Friday night. This is one of those European based African groups, so like half in Belgium, half from the Congo, and they mostly play European music festivals and almost never get to the U.S. And they play music from the Kinshasa underground, very dance forward, based on Kwaito, which is an Afro house genre, and 90s dance music. Very fun stuff. DJ Theory will be there Friday night, and we got Mo Drums. Morgan Greenstreet is another ethnomusicologist, DJ, and then on Saturday night we've got Underground System. I think you guys know them.
Yeah, they've been around
yeah.
a few times, but they're incredible.
Yeah, like if you like dancing, they are such
So
a
much
heavy
fun.
dance band.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Oh my God, yeah. They're like, Domenica leads the band. She's kind of a cross between David Byrne and Fela Kuti or something like that. It's electro disco, post-Afro beat, just yes wave.
See all these
global
genres
funk.
that Ito knows?
I forgot to add those to my list.
And that is the Almost Spring Weekender 2 happening March 7th through 8th at Racebrook Lodge in Sheffield, Mass. in the Berkshires. All right, we're going to run out of time. If we don't can go, let's do a couple more of these quiz questions.
And then
before-
somebody can think about telling me how the name for the whole DJ night came about.
Sure.
Oh, well, let's do that first. Yeah.
Where did the name like More Love come from?
we went back and forth for weeks, toiled on the name. It was tricky. And then it kind of just came to us, me and Ito. And it just makes
I think
sense. It just stuck.
It was Jake's idea. I loved it. Very, very simple and opening and generous and encouraging us to just be better versions of ourselves.
Who doesn't want more
what's
love?
not to
We
like?
all want more love.
Yeah,
We all
and it
want
is happening. This event is happening at De La Luz Soundstage in Holyoke on Ray Street, Saturday night, 8 o'clock with DJ Theory spinning with Rio Bamba. Okay, Bart,
Okay.
this is the other reggaeton one, maybe.
Vamos lá, vai, vai. E aí? Shake your body, baby, só pra mim. Tô ficando crazy.
This feels more like Baile Funk, but I might be wrong.
What is it? Is it Ballet Funk? Or is it was it? Oh, Khalees got it correct.
Oh, hey!
Yay! What makes Ballet Funk Ballet Funk?
It's Brazilian music and ballet funk. I don't know.
It's Brazilian, so that's the giveaway. then, right?
Very just. It is
Yeah.
Brazilian.
You
yes.
start to hear Portuguese.
Well, no, like you get like there's like an underlying like salsa-ness to the way that the beat works.
Yeah.
Like you can like samba-ish.
It loosely translates to dance party. I mean,
Well, you'll have your own dance party with DJ Theory and more this
I'm
Saturday.
genuinely
at
shocked
De
we
La
got so
Luz
many of
Soundstage.
those
Yeah,
right.
I got one right. That was more than I thought I was going to get right. It's happening this Saturday night in Holyoke at De La Luz. More love, and also keep an eye out for the Almost Spring Weekender happening March 7th and 8th in Sheffield. Thank you, Ito Moore. Thank you, DJ Theory, for joining us.
Yes.
I can't
see
wait
Thanks for having us.
Oh, our pleasure.
We got lots of fun stuff happening on tomorrow's show. We'll see you then.